There are so many ways to do this but here is a very simple way. So let's say you already have a line. We are going to call this row, and then we're going to add points along this line that will represent the positions of our trees, for example. So we're going to select our row and go in the bottom left corner of QGIS and type points along, and we are going to select this one, points along geometry. For distance, we can set here, let's say 15 meters, and click on run. So this will create points starting from the beginning of our line, which is here, all the way to the end. And you can see it couldn't fill the remaining points because there's no 15 meters between this last point and the end of the line. So that's okay. Now, if we want to label these, let's say we have two species here, A and B, and we want for there to be like a sequence. So we have A, B, A, B. What we can do is select our point layer and go under the select features by expression. So now we can tell QGIS to select every other point, and we are going to label that one, let's say B, and then we can invert the selection and label all of the remaining points A. However, we need to have an attribute already called out for these points that, for example, brings out the distance between them. And just so it happens that this algorithm points along geometry already calls out that attribute, so we can see it in the attribute table. It's called distance. So we have the distance between the points here, which will be very useful now, because what we can do is type in the expression here distance, which is the name of the attribute, divided by 2 equals 0. And now when we click select features, you can see it will select every other point starting with the first point. Now with this selection still active, we can go to the attribute table or just directly open up the field calculator by pressing Shift and F. And we can create here a new field, so we can call this species. And for output field type, we're going to set this to text unlimited. And then in the expression, we're going to type single quotation mark A and close the single quotation mark. So basically this just inputs a text where it says this species is called A, and we're going to press OK. Now if we go under the attribute table, you can see what happened. It created a species column and labeled every other point as species A. From here we can simply press on invert selection and it will now select all of the remaining points, and we can again go under the field calculator, and instead of creating a new field we can simply update the existing field. So click on update existing field, go under species, and now we're going to do the same thing, single quotation mark B and close the single quotation mark and press OK. So now this labeled the remaining points as B. From here we can exit out of all of these panels, and now if we want to bring out the labels for these points, we can just right click on the layer, go to properties, and then go under the labels section. From the drop down menu, choose single labels, and then from the value we can set this to species, and let's increase the size a little bit and maybe set a bold font and click on apply. Actually this size is too big. So now you can see we have labels for each one of these points. If you want, you can also change the symbology of the actual points. So we're going to select the marker here, choose simple marker, and let's scroll all the way down. And I like to use some kind of a crosshair because it gives a better idea of where the exact center of the point is. And we can also increase the size of this to something more visible. Thank you for watching. Hope this has been helpful, and see you in the next video.